Welcome back. It's a great pleasure, as always, to introduce Malcolm Grahamwood, or an oil analyst at Malcy's blog. Malcy, this is part 2 of your bucket list, and we've got a number of stocks to go through. This is the overall scoreboard since you came in on February the 1st, the close. We're going to kick off with Victoria Oil and Gas. I think it's up 71% since we last had you in. Wow.
Yeah, this is a great stock, and yeah, 71%, it could be way more than that. I mean, it should be way more than that, and will be way more than that, I'm absolutely convinced. The market haven't worked this stock out yet. I've got lots of people who follow the stock who have worked it out and have wondered why it hasn't already gone as high. Because don't forget, earlier in the year, it actually did peak at 80-odd p, but they had a slightly prolonged drilling program. Bottom line for Victoria Oil and Gas is it's in Cameroon, in West Africa. It has cradle-to-grave operations, so it drills for the gas. It has set out all the pipelines through to the second city, but the biggest city in Cameroon, called Douala, where it has pipelines. It has two types of clients. It has the state generating company, which it sells a lot to and will sell a lot more to. They're in the process of renegotiating that contract at the moment, but I have no concerns whatsoever. They will take a huge amount of gas off them. Douala has also got a number of really big factories that use gas. All these gas takers used to be producing electricity from anything from diesel to coal to, this is a good, clean, efficient way, and it's really catching on. So I went there earlier in the summer and I saw the factories, which are, the consumer factories. There's a Guinness factory, there's a chocolate factory, there's a Nabisco factory, and they're all taking this gas. So they could provide, I think, 2 or 3 times as much as they already do. So there's a huge amount of upside, and they have hopefully still in the process of being done, but a deal with Bowleven on their Bemono asset, which is at the other end. So they've got one end of Douala, they've got the production, the pipeline leading all the way through to the other end. Douala is growing rapidly, and the Bemono will feed the demand at the other end. When I was over there were 2 Chinese factories setting up, taking quite a lot of gas, who were looking to take a lot of gas, so they only have to put a short pipeline in there from Bemono, and they're matched up. I reckon this company could make, certainly could make 3 or 4 times what it's making at the moment. It's very well managed. The management on the ground is very good, and there's one other thing. The adjacent block to Logbaba, where they're producing the gas at the moment, is called Matanda, and they bought that block a couple of years ago, and they're starting to do some work on it. This could produce a huge amount more gas, and don't forget, the market is so strong, they could sell any gas I think they could find there. So the future is extremely positive for VOG.
Understood. Let's move on to Pantheon Resources, down somewhat from the last update.
You need the patience of a saint with this company, who, through no fault of their own as a general rule, have just taken a huge amount more time to do what they've said that they were going to do, i.e. Produce hydrocarbons in Texas. Even now, they're just about to get to the good bit, and of course the Hurricane Harvey has flooded various areas, and so they put everything back a few weeks. They've had a lot of delays on this company, and if you remember 2 years ago, this was the biggest stock in the list. Last year, it disappointed. They're not brilliant on investor relations, and so they lose friends when things come out slowly and so on. I've stuck with it. Quite a lot of the investors have stuck with it. I really believe it will happen. You can see what happens there. The market are impatient, uncertain, and they say they'll come back later. I think that Jay, who we've interviewed here 3 or 4 times, and his partners are doing a great job out there, and they are able to produce and make money at very, very low oil prices. So I think it'll work. As I say, it's tested my patience and that of its shareholders, but I'm sticking in there.
Understood. Rockhopper.
Now, Rockhopper is interesting. You can see what's happening here. It's beginning to stage a bit of a recovery. This is for the incredibly patient, but I've always said, ever since I put it in the bucket list a couple of a couple of years ago that Rockhopper would need to be for the longer haul. It really is. Nothing could happen with Rockhopper, because Rockhopper, don't forget, its main asset is Sea Line. So nothing could happen on Sea Line until Premier had finished its debt negotiations and was able to start concentrating on all the engineering works, the feed, and more importantly, the financing. Now you can see what's happening here. There's beginning to be quite a decent base formed, and that what I was talking to you in the previous show about Premier maybe getting export finance for. I think that Rockhopper have got a number of their key engineering suppliers on side. So if they were to get a decent crack of the whip on this one, I think that all of a sudden, I think we might find that 2018 could be the year for Rockhopper. It's been a long time coming, but it's I think it's a 1 billion barrel oil field, which the market will still need. So this is the last time to drop Rockhopper. I'm very happy.
Understood. Let's move on to Far Limited.
Well, this is the dog that didn't bark in the night. I mean, this is a company so full of assets, it's not true. You'll remember that it's the Senegal and African West Coast assets.
Yep.
This is the asset that Cairn are in. There is some dispute about the ownership of the others because Conoco walked away and traded it out for Woodside with uncertain legal parameters, and so they're in arbitration at the moment. But either way, Far have got a decent stake in what might be a 2 billion barrel oil field. Certainly Cairn are very excited. I went to their meeting last week. They're very excited about it. It hasn't been noted in the share price at all. They've raised money, so they've got plenty of cash. They've got a new partner. The Chinese are now backing them, so really strong partners. They've got acreage in other areas apart from Senegal, going further down the southerly from the western area of Africa. I've said it for a while. I think that it's only a matter of time before the Far share price ticks up. It's only quoted in Australia. I heard stories that it might be quoted in London, which would be very sensible. We get lots of more information then. But the bottom line is, for those people and there are plenty of them, I get Twitter messages and email messages from them all the time, and it's run by a lady called Kath Norman, who is absolutely superb. I think it's only a matter of time before the share price goes up. It'll either rally gently and the market will pick up the value of its Senegal holdings and other exploration, or someone will come in and take it out, or there'll be a change of assets within that Senegal. Either way, the stock is way too cheap.
Understood. SDX Energy?
This has been an absolute star. I don't know what you've got it there.
Up 10% since the last update.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'm expecting this to do even better still. SDX is concentrated in Africa, but primarily in Egypt and in Morocco, where it took over Circle Oil's assets and has been a huge success for them. More importantly, really good management, really good technical team, and they've unearthed some really good stuff. So they've got this South Dusuk well in Egypt, which came in as a big gas find, but could conceivably be an oil find as well. They were drilling that, and we're just about to go into the most exciting part of SDX's year from now on, because they've got 7 wells to drill in Morocco, probably more, because I understand that during the summer they've been digging around in the Circle stuff and there and found some quite interesting leads. In addition to that, they're going to continue with the development work in Egypt. The management, another management which never sits still, always doing exciting deals, always things on the go. SDX, absolute favourite in this portfolio for me.
Understood. Let's go to Jersey Oil and Gas.
Whoa.
Up 70% since the last update.
Don't hold your breath, up 70%, and we did say that it would have a rock and rolling summer, because Jersey Oil and Gas are partners of Statoil in a well which is drilling at the moment in the North Sea in a prospect called Verbier. We're in the middle of September. It's 30 to 70 or 90 days, depending on how much work they do. The longer we don't hear anything is probably the better, because I don't want to hear news that it's just a dry hole. I want to hear news that it's exciting things down there, and maybe a sidetrack. For what might have been a rank wildcat, it's got a 28% chance of success, which is pretty high. But Talisman drilled a well on this prospect in 2005, which is why people are excited that something might be there. The bottom line is that Jersey have got a number of other things on the go. So if it's dry, it's not the end of the world, but the shares will come down if it's dry. But they're well managed, and they've got, let's say, some good prospects and a good technical team. If it comes in this well, they go well off that chart. I mean, I've got another 250p a share, up to potentially £10 a share if it was to be a success. This is a good old-fashioned drilling prospect.
Understood. Let's wrap up this segment with Amanix up 82% since the last update.
Yeah, this has been a super call actually, and I've been waiting to put Amanix in the bucket list for a long time, and so back in February at 3.5p or whatever it is. What was it?
2.75.
2.75. Now over 5p. Had another run up yesterday because the assets, or the discovery, the Naturaia 2, they are inevitably pushing the the size of this discovery up all the time, and now we're getting into TCFs of gas. Any minute now we'll see them putting forward the field development plan to the TPDC, that's the Tanzania even, Development Corp, and I'm expecting this to go further. There are other things to drill on in the area, and Jay, who's the CEO, has undoubtedly got plans to make sure this is monetized. There's lots of exciting other acreage, things he can do, not necessarily in Tanzania. I'm as confident as I've ever been that Jay will deliver the goods on Amanix, and I think there's still plenty of upside from here.
Malcolm, we've run out of time. One last question. Oil price higher or lower year end?
I think it'll be higher. The whole process has taken quite a lot longer than we expected to work through, and so the numbers we're getting from people like the IEA are saying that world demand is falling slightly, not much. It's still growing, but not as fast as before. But if the Saudis and all the other members of OPEC and non-OPEC can hold on to their agreement levels and possibly increase them, then, you know, I've got 60 in for the end of the year. It's probably a smidgen high, but I think higher rather than lower.
Malcolm Grahamwood, thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.